Well, look who's bringing sexy back. You've arrived at another lesson on how to be a firefighter with Captain Dave. Today we find he and the crew are at an elementary school. Firefighters often go to schools during Fire Prevention Month. It is in these fart-ridden vesicles that a hero must find ways of teaching safety to kids. Captain Dave uses this opportunity to give you this lecture in an arena free from interruption or mucus.
Hey, welcome back. It's now week 4, job application. In this lesson, you learn how to be invited for testing with the fire department. Also, you'll find out what education best directs your future and how physical effort combined with mental exercise dramatically increases your ability to problem solve. Why it's important? Public agencies rely on a legal document to initiate the hiring process. This document is your valuable indicator that can tell a better story than any book, because this gets you paid. Discover the formula for improving your hero skills while becoming more attractive to hiring managers. To receive an invitation and participate in the hiring process, you first must have your job application accepted. Deadlines and minimum qualifications are only the first hurdles. Finding your story and directing evaluators to the promise you bring through your past is the current challenge. A well-written job application becomes the magic carpet elevating you above the crowds. Learn to breathe easier by choice and know what's asked in those silly boxes. How simple things sound right now. Find out what they want, then become it. What's an it? Your problem begins when you don't know. Without knowing what they want, it becomes a time-consuming guess. This lesson will help you triage or arrange future actions into priorities. Filling the job application requires more planning than you may be aware. How you satisfy their needs must be anchored on logical progressions and not on assumptions. What does a paramedic firefighter job require first to test? Is it an associate's degree, or is it a paramedic license? To find the answer, study job announcements for firefighter paramedics. Chart what remains consistent. Use these common denominators to strategically narrow your moves. You may have tons of choices with where to proceed next. Classes specific to firefighting tactics may be tempting, and a college degree may be more desirable. But watch out. Too many lit candles can burn. Applications for firefighter paramedics get rejected if someone is missing the license to function as a paramedic. This is because someone could die if a minimum threshold isn't met. Consider the height requirement on a roller coaster ride. For reasons of safety, certain physical attributes must be met. In this situation, the fire service requires certain limits for everyone's well-being. The laws of attraction are alive and well in the fire service. Your application can go into a black hole or become your key to test. Value is subjective with hiring managers because of their needs. Fortunately, there's a gold standard which can get you headed in the right direction. Have we met? Being considered for a test is relatively simple. Meet the minimum qualifications and prove it by way of a legible, complete, and timely submitted job application. Much like the job announcement, the application should be studied in depth because it says more about you than it asks. What you write and how you write makes an impact. The best practice is to tell the truth, know what to say, and know what you're saying. And remember, liars lose their jobs. Empathy fights anyone's fight. Being aware of implications equals seeing not the bigger picture, but the biggest picture. How important is grammar? Spelling your name wrong or misplacing a comma may minimally affect you, or it could eliminate you completely. We all make mistakes, but in this situation, forgiveness is tied to a bell curve. Fortunately, if filling a critical personnel shortage is a top priority for them, you may be given another chance to redeem your literary skills. Let's talk about the sections. Name, address, and phone. The first questions asked on a job application surround the NAP, or name, address, and phone information. If you ever move residences, phone carriers, or emails, make sure that the NAP stays accurate. After all, they may want to call you. Regarding those bona fide occupational necessities mentioned earlier, be mindful because your answers mean a lot. There's no room for oops, my bad when it comes with honesty. Don't allow chances for them to second guess you. What's in a name? How you present yourself in the first section can make or break your chances. Your name triggers a historical conversation. Your past is chained to your name. If you've been naughty, those undesirable behaviors may sink your chances, and here's why. If everything goes as planned, your name is forwarded to someone called a background investigator. The investigator scours any place where your name appears, including media types. References are then contacted to determine if you were dishonest or if you increase a liability to the hiring organization. After all, public trust is at stake. Honestly, what will the professional investigator find when searching your past? Is there a troubled record? We love comeback kids, so commit to making today the first day of the rest of your reduced liability life. Your change in trajectory will get noticed if accompanied with heaps of humility. The person who is only sorry says sorry versus the person who is truly remorseful. All of that stuff shows. Education and specialized training. The section to add educational experience is found soon after your personal contact information. Educational questions no longer should inquire about dates, as there could be an age bias involved. Therefore, be ready for the name and address of your high school, college, if any, and trade schools. Some job applications also provide a section for specialized training. An excellent way to select your next class is by using a career arrow viewpoint. Ask yourself, is your effort pointing towards a career of service? Each profession in life may have different roads to get to the starting point. Getting hired could be decided by your bilingual experience or a history with high-pressure sales or softened interpersonal skills, allowing for more straightforward interview answers. Who knows? Will there be any guarantee that 3-day hazard material specialist course is of higher value than a 14-day Spanish immersion training? The fire agency situated near a busy railroad says, hell yeah. The Metropolitan Fire District, serving an elderly population of Latinos, would disagree. Each piece of information contains additional communication for someone looking. If you haven't done anything to improve your baseline situation, namely education towards a goal, move on now. Evaluators wonder when you have no response. If the job application's specialized training gets you down, the next section called job experience may be your breakaway. Think of it this way. When you buy a house, someday you may want to sell it. During the years you dwell in the house, having some inclination towards selling may drive individual decisions for upkeep, maintenance, or improvements. For example, you may choose to convert a storage room into a bedroom even though the number of inhabitants hasn't increased. Why? Because there is a return on investment for having bedrooms. A 4-bedroom house typically is of higher value than a 3-bedroom, all things being equal, even if the square footage hasn't changed. Keeping with the house scenario, any decisions of reckless behavior can be made easier under the threat of future loss. If I get pissed and punch a hole in the wall, the Winger concert poster covering it may offend a future buyer and hurt my chances of profit. I guess I won't punch the shit out of this stupid wall. The decision process that just happened gets power from selfish prospects benefiting or degrading as a result of current behavior. The job application is your first shot at convincing someone you belong. Remember, your current behavior will benefit or degrade your future options. Let's talk about what they're looking for. Most evaluations of candidates in this portion are centered on spotting frauds and making sure they have minimum standards. The person who lies on a job application, fraud, is the worst case scenario for any hiring manager, considering the people affected. Evaluators are also looking to weed out candidates lacking minimums because they waste precious resources, all while being unqualified. Items written or missing on an application become a biographical statement. I'm ambitious, naive, misdirected, or worse, is stated from what you can put on an application. Classes you've taken, degrees received, training achieved, and hours spent crafting your skills get weighed against others. Can I start gaining experience now? How can you craft your skills for emergency services? The simplest and most beneficial way is to get a job. Work for somebody. Specifically, anything customer service, like waiters, service representatives, or other fields that forces a human-to-human collaboration will carry significant weight. Why? As mentioned in earlier lessons, today's emergency services are becoming inundated with medical-based needs from an aging populace. The older the population gets, the more demand for emergency services as a result. Response statistics exponentially increase when elderly communities become concentrated, which they are. Who are these people? Our parents and grandparents. They need the best care possible, and if your customer service skills suck, unsuck them. The employment section on the job application looks for employer location, their contact information, a direct supervisor's name, and it may inquire why you left. If a department was on bad terms, reason for leaving then becomes the scarlet letter, white albatross, a case of herpes, and a pain in your ass all at once. Don't write, "Those guys can go F themselves." Instead, find examples on the internet for crafty ways of describing the job divorce. Never paint old employment or you in a negative light. Both they and you need to be held with respect while navigating the dicey phraseology of "I got fired" or "I quit." Most fire departments reviewing your application are looking for relevance in work, customer service, or anything really, any service. Also, they look for the rolling stone, someone who cannot hold down a job. Choosing your current employer may not have been your first option. If so, look for ways of providing a service to people. No joke, oddly, it works like lifting weights or drinking vegetable smoothies does for beneficial hormone releases, biological, emotional responses. AKA, once you're performing the act, you feel better. In this case, it's enormous. The sooner you see other humans as your objective, the sooner it shows in your actions. You can't hide how you help people. Acts of compassion get you to the front faster than any college degree. Humility and a passion for humanity cultivates ideal answers. The right stuff is spoken instinctively. Why? Action beats words every time. Heroes act first to correct something wrong, then talk about it. If you find a weakness, work on it. Don't make it a bigger issue than it needs to be. Address shortcomings and move on. Are you all talk or are all walk? Improving yourself means being a better student. Good students are attractive to fire agencies because learning is constant in this complex industry. Are you a student or an A student? Here's a follow-up question. Are you on the right course? The goals I'm about to read should be your focus until accomplished. You want to preferably do them in order. They're commonly used as minimum requirements and will directly impact your chances. No kidding here. Time for some educational muscle-ups. Educational goals. There are two ideal routes for speeding your attractiveness to be hired. When deciding on college classes, you would be best served completing one of the two objectives. Your paramedic license first, and then a something similar to a California Firefighter 1 certification, but you'll have to check your own state fire marshal. Firefighter 1 certification is a state curriculum that requires proficiency in areas related to the fire service, including but not limited to fire hose, water supply, vehicle extrication, rescue, structure fire extinguishment, and basic emergency medical treatment. Tempting as it sounds, rushing to a fire training course now may create significant delays later on. What are my best odds for getting hired? Actually, it doesn't appear as much a bet once the facts are considered. Are you taking a risk securing education in common emergencies? People call 911 for one thing more than any other, non-emergencies. Next is sickness. Nearing the last place is something exotic called a working structure fire. They are rare. Yet the residential house fire is what most people focus on. Where will you point your arrow? It's beneficial to get the paramedic license sooner as opposed to waiting. Consider this when choosing classes. The fire service responds to medical problems far more than fire. A burning heart is more common than a burning couch, and backache is more common than backdraft. There's no guessing or betting necessary. The math shows what you should do. Thankfully, it's not a lot of math. If you haven't guessed yet, demand is for qualified candidates holding advanced medical training, mainly people with valid paramedic licenses. Fortunately for all of us, one doesn't simply apply and get accepted into paramedic school. With that, one does not fail paramedic school and simply try again. Many people want to be firefighters, plus many fire departments want paramedics. Someone who failed paramedic school and had to try again translates to someone who failed pilot school and wants to fly a commercial airline. Or someone who failed brain surgery school and wants to work on your brain. You don't need any more examples. It's pretty damn good. College prerequisites towards paramedic licensure vary, but your first steps may be CPR, first aid, EMT, paramedic prerequisites on an institution-specific nature could be anatomy, physiology, microbiology, medical terminology, and home medications. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation, or CPR, is the act of pumping someone's heart and breathing for them when they cannot do it on their own. This is also defined as trying to reverse death. Learning CPR is not hard, and courses can be found in most communities. Try the American Heart Association or a local fire department to register. CPR sessions are typically group-based and consist of video, lecture, and some reading. Segments are reinforced with hands-on practice to ensure proper technique. How long is it? Expect to spend your full weekend or 2 Saturdays learning how to save an adult, child, and infant from choking and cardiac arrest. In class, you will learn to become proficient in chest compressions, airway manipulation, and foreign body obstruction removal. Chewed up food stuck in the neck. Additionally, you'll learn how to identify signs of cerebral vascular accidents, also known as strokes, and how to use an external automated defibrillator, or AED. Upon completion, a 2-year certification is issued for you to show everyone you meet. Don't let this be the only practice you get before refresher training, though. Some skills have shelf lives. First aid. Basic first aid, which is the early management of medical emergencies, can be learned through several means. The American Red Cross and the National Safety Council are recognized as leaders in teaching basic first aid to the public. Controlling, bleeding, and spinal injury precautions can never be learned too soon. Afraid at Aunt Jenny's 99-year-old surprise birthday party when she clutches her chest? Do you own a pool? Do you have a knife in your kitchen? Wherever danger lurks, so too is your reason for knowing basic first aid. Besides, you need it to enter the next training level emergency medical technician. EMT, emergency medical technician, is a level of training that you may get from local colleges or sometimes private institutes. Choosing between the two options is usually self-limiting when considering cost or time. The collegiate route is better for those crunched for cash. Incurring the average tuition with a few books, it typically lasts between 1 and 2 semesters. This includes ride-along time for practical skills development in an emergency unit. Private education for EMT is better for those crunched for time and not too concerned with costs. While usually more expensive on the front end, if an accelerated course lines you up for meeting the minimum qualifications sooner, your return on investment will occur faster than if you went the slower but more economic route. Each situation is unique, but one thing is for sure, EMT is a necessary primer for what is to come if you really want to become a firefighter. The good news, you can find employment while carrying a valid EMT card. This improves your field experience, which is highly desirable for recruiters. Once working as an EMT, you'll be paired with another EMT or an EMTP or paramedic. The paramedic is the highest trained person on the emergency medical scene and maintains the responsibility for care until adequately and appropriately transferring care to equal or more significant training. Usually this is an emergency room RN or a doctor after a transport. And frequently, the doctor or nurse assumes responsibility in the field from paramedics. It's a rarity. The paramedic license is your primary goal. Do whatever is necessary to obtain it, even if it means going Spartan by dining on gas station sandwiches, rice, or farmers market vegetables. Like I said, the prerequisites are typically institution specific. What you need to access for the program in your location varies, basically. Take every precaution to get through the paramedic program on the first attempt. Doing so is essential because failing a section of training creates stigmas and unnecessary hurdles. Be careful with preparations, and you will ease the suffering. Classes that can improve your chances of passing are anatomy and physiology. If all you know is he broke his thingy down there, AMP will fix that by helping you know yourself. This intense course may become one of the hardest due to the memorization of things. Flashcards and an understanding of Latin will aid in getting through anatomy. Hundreds of bones, ligaments, tendons, tissues, systems, organs, and everything else covering us will need to be remembered. Some colleges offer an introduction or combined courses to help with proficiency. My advice is to complete the medical terminology course beforehand. While seemingly slower, learning the language beforehand will work better to prevent failing. Most of the students I watched struggled and couldn't understand what was being said. They were quickly overwhelmed by the jargon and became frustrated. Ventral, hepatic, what? Words common in the industry are taught in the medical terminology class and can significantly help your transition to higher learning. Besides anatomy and physiology, both utilize the same verbiage, and failing one or the other has more extended setback periods. Take the time before day one to learn the language so the transition can be smoother. Microbiology. Why learn about the small kingdom around us? Because weird stuff like Krebs cycle gets a revisit when dealing with someone's trapped arm or leg, otherwise known as compartment syndrome. Each seemingly insignificant process in our bodies experiences large-scale effects when something large-scale falls on us. The carbon dioxide process found during Krebs cycle, along with trillions of other biological processes, shows us the connectivity of things small and large. As above, so below. As below, so above. Microbiology courses prepare your paramedic training by understanding this link's relationship with patient outcomes. Medication interaction with humans is on a microbiological spectrum. Having familiarity with the below and its delicate balance will go far when dangerous pharmacological interventions are being considered. Medical terminology. As was discussed earlier, but I can't emphasize enough, you must be ready on day one. Paramedic training is strained when a whole new vocabulary must also be absorbed. If you thought the metric system or anatomy was tough, you're in for a treat. Make it easier on yourself. Become fluent in the language of hospital staff and the ambulance attendants. Home medications. Last on the list is the dreaded home meds or pharmacology. The names are hard to remember, and what is popular one year may be missing the next. Don't spend too much time learning what medication to memorize. Instead, find the groupings and become familiar with any patterns that emerge. Antihypertensives may present one model, corticosteroids, antidepressants, and cholesterol-lowering drugs as another. Sadly, you can become aware of what's commonly prescribed by watching early evening game shows, commercials. Companies pay for marketing to prospective customers. Most pharmaceuticals know their targets to be elderly people sitting on the couch watching TV. While advertisers might not know about DVR and the fast forward button, you can still learn something about the disease that's in vogue. While the work seems hard, making your paramedic license a priority may be the single greatest turning point. It was for me. Demand in the fire service calls for paramedic experience. Anticipating needs for an emergency medical technician paramedic will make you more marketable. There is a payoff, and there's no reason to delay. It's common for applications to require essay answers. Since most people talk in 5 or 6 word strings, your goal is knowing what you're talking about. The essay isn't hard to construct, and it is one of your only chances to set yourself apart from the other candidates. Piece together 4 or 5 sentences and you have a stew of possibilities. Then recite the answers aloud. Essay questions may reappear in the interview setting, so practice will prevent you from appearing like an idiot. Your reasons for being in front of the evaluator, the purpose for your efforts, your goals, can you say them? Why do you want to work for us? Ask this question, but having no response torpedoes your chances. Write the answer to why you want to become a firefighter. Surprisingly, your first draft may look like garbage. Continue writing until you're proud of the unique answer. Does the application have to be perfect? We all make mistakes, but sometimes they hurt. In this business, you must work exceptionally hard to prevent accidents. First impressions matter. If you begin your relationship on a high note, usually agencies will overlook incorrect grammar, but not licensure or anything essential to the mission. Far too many people want the position, so don't risk hastily filling in boxes just to get it submitted on time. Along with its myriad grammatical trip hazards, speed also introduces blind spots. Check boxes missed, signatures overlooked, attachments being attached. All sorts of landmines appear when you're impatient. On signing. The conclusion of all mandated sections comes in the form of a signature and date. Your oath at the end of the job application can say important things, so read it carefully. Most of the wording states you can expect big problems if there are untruthful statements. People have been fired even years after the hire date from misstating the facts. Be sure to omit anything you can't prove. It would be a shame to lose the opportunity and ruin future prospects because of lies. Do you need another reason? Look even closer at some signature sections and you may see the term risk of perjury. Under these situations, you risk more than a final paycheck, as it may bring felony conviction if it's brought to trial. When signing the job application, how will your signature appear to the evaluator? Does it look like you dropped your crayon or is having a seizure? Guess which appeals more to the evaluator's eye, a scribbly artsy thing or legibly controlled, an architect's hand thoughtfully branding a name, putting some time into it? Your name can go a long way if you allow it. Placing the date next to your signature seals the deal. Upon finishing the writing portion of the job application, you will be expected to collect supporting documentation. Hopefully now you can appreciate organizing all files and backing them up for easy access. What does your application point to? Think of it as an arrow for your career. An application short in content tells a longer story of unpreparedness. Reach forward 1, 3, and 5 years and imagine your job application then. Year 5 should be the second year of aggressive statewide testing. Year 1 should look better than today. The document, your historical biography, is supposed to change. Autobiography, whatever. Your application today should look different next year. Always look for ways to make the arrow point in the direction of emergency service. It's not always in the fire service classes. Conditional strength training. Your power will come from repetition. While physical demands require one form, this type of exercise builds the confidence needed for when the low gets to the lowest and you're about to quit. Combining the benefits found with exertion, hormonal response, and stressful mental challenges, you can turbo boost to a state of readiness. By now, you should know how exercise benefits both physically and mentally. This workout routine balances the stress of working muscles while maintaining a razor-like focus mentality. Both need practice because weakness in one can definitely be found in the other. While there is fatigue from pulling hose into a burning structure, nothing compares to the drain of mental anguish. In karate, to fulfill the joyful practice of pulverizing wood panels with a punch requires you to punch through the board. Hitting the board alone will break a knuckle, but this is avoided with a simple target placement. Don't knock the board, punch the section behind the original target and watch the splinters fly. Okay, now we're going to try a little something different. And this is from an upcoming workout book called A Heroic Workout. It's 3 rounds called Heave Fun. It's important to maintain form above speed, but explode into the movements. Okay, so you're going to do 3 different things in one round, and then you're just going to repeat the rounds. Round 1, you're going to do as many push-ups as possible with no rest at the top. Next, you're going to do as many pull-ups anywhere you can hang. And then the third item is you're going to answer simulated interview questions, and that's going to force you to practice your calm breathing. So like on a workout I tried, I had a goal of 40 push-ups, and I got to 25. I had a goal of 25 pull-ups, and I got to 6. And then while I was breathing hard, I immediately answered, why do I want to be a firefighter? As if I was talking to an evaluator, and that forced me to maintain the calm under pressure. The push-ups and pull-ups build several physical attributes needed for hero work, such as grip, push, and pull. Once a pump is going and the hands are burning, shift to intellectual drills. While your brain is tagged in and working imaginary scenarios, your body is calming through breath and rest. Completing sentences while restraining your urge to hyperventilate also develops positive tendencies such as SCBA, skip breathing. That's when we're wearing the tank of air on our back and we're going into a burning structure and we're needing to preserve our air for as long as we can. We do a technique called skip breathing. And when we're trying to make radio transmissions during arduous tasks, we're having to pull ceiling, perform chest compressions, we're fighting a fire, we're running away from a fire, we'll need to be able to talk clearly and eloquently while still holding back massive amounts of holy shit. Yes, you will allow your body to breathe, but only on your terms. That's self-control. You're doing this to become a firefighter. Just don't forget. The profession can be crushing and shouldn't be taken lightly. Floating your ego instead of being humble prevents you from distinguishing yourself because you'll never improve. Your objective is to rise above other brothers and sisters testing for the same job. Elevating beyond the meh requires you to work harder, go past the finish line, to punch through the board. Move your target beyond taking a test and instead into career work. As the job announcement tells you something about the organization, the job application speaks loudly about you. Employers are looking at your career arrows, those indicators showing if you are on a path that's representative, congruent, or consistent with the industry. Basically, are you wasting everyone's time? And do you know what our business is? What do we do? Our industry is customer service. The product service is a scalable and intelligent way out of a bad situation. In short, we fix on scales ranging from small to large to, oh shit, grandma's cat in a tree, grandma's 2 a.m. chest pain, grandma's garage on fire. If you want to become a problem solver for humanity, seek education and work experience that cultivates self-sacrifice. Contribute towards improving someone's welfare. No more judgment for why someone is homeless or how some drunk driver should be damned. Instead, see every person as an opportunity. Heroes help unconditionally. Heroes look for ways to serve because that fuels us. Charity becomes a source of strength, although it too requires conditioning. Visualize the document as a blank canvas. The job application introduces you to the future family. And while your first impression will matter, submitting a work in progress is of higher value. Make it a living and evolving document, a growing testament of you improving upon itself. Commit to higher learning and make each minute relevant to serving people. Employers want to see your arrow has some thought put into it. What experiences led you to this moment, and why are you their opportunity not to pass up? Shrugging your shoulders is not an answer. Speaking of not an answer, what happens when there is no response from the agency? If your application was rejected and you were lucky enough to learn the reason why, take it as a great sign. The final grading comes from evaluators wanting to know if you fit in, whether you have skin in the game, which includes if you can assist during an inevitable drawdown. Drawdown is when not enough personnel are available to staff fire engines. It could occur over minutes or years. What would you do to help? The strong candidate wants to contribute above and beyond for humanity. Their past should reflect this. Otherwise, it's just lip service. If an agency is interested in you, they'll preserve the relationship and contact you. Most people are hired after a few tests, so keep smiling. Don't give yourself a bad image. Gracefully losing now may yield significant returns should the door open later on. People remember the weirdest things, and your one misplaced reaction could reverberate for decades. Trust me, I know. For now, work to clear your past of any negativity and hate. Most misunderstandings are handled quickly by listening. So can you answer? How can you get their attention in a good way? What do they really want to know but cannot ask but still do? What applications get rejected? And where should you point your efforts now? Well, that's it. Dawn and I are off to the next emergency that hopefully someday you get to join us with. And now all we got to do is wait for that emergency. Oh, there it is. See you. This means a burning heart is more common than a burning couch. Backache more common than backdraft. Stroke matches more than struck matches. I don't know what I was thinking with that one. There's no guessing or better. This means